Hey, welcome to our Market of the Moment update, week of July 11th, 2022. Michael Oldham with Chris Madrid. What's up? What's up? In Collin County, still though, prices are coming down, even though they're not below list price. They're coming down from 3 to 4 weeks ago. We were at nearly 10% list price to sales price, or sales price to list price in Collin County. Now we're down to 4.9% over. I don't know why I'm nearly 8% still in there. That should have been taken out. So anyway, nearly 5% over list price is what you're paying in Collin County. Have seen a number of price reductions, but you have to consider that once that price is reduced, then you might get competition and somebody might pay 5% over that reduced number. So anyway, you're still looking to pay 5-6% over. If it's that little gym, you might still be looking to pay 10% over in Collin County. Days on market have ticked up to 7. We were sitting on 5 for a very long time. So days on market is going up a little bit, meaning that probably got fewer buyers in the market. Is probably what that is. Thus a little less competition, so people aren't moving quite as fast making that decision. Right. 2.4 months supply, that's actually down from last week, 0.4 of a month. And new listings to the solds, I think this is where we kind of start telling the story of how the market's getting squeezed just a little bit. We had 490 new listings this week, and we only had 253 solds. Those numbers have been reversed over the last several months, where we were having way more sold than coming on the market. Moving over to Denton County, it generally tracks very close to Collin, and it's still doing that. You're going to pay about 4.5% over list price in Denton County on average. Same thing there. If it's that right house, you're probably looking to pay 9 to 10% over to be in the ball game. 7 days on market in Denton as well, and they also lost a 1/4 of a month supply, 1.9. And once again, new listings was 455 and 303 closed, versus last week we had 333 hit the market with 526 closing. So you can see that market is shifting there as well. Dallas County, going to pay just a little over 3% sales price to list price. It's at 103.1. Days on the market, once again, is 7. Once again, I still think that's telling a story, not quite as much competition, so people aren't jumping quite as quick to get in the game. Maybe taking a little more time picking that offer, because Chris said there's some FHA loans out there now that are competitive. So you got a lot more things to look at as a listing agent and a seller. 1.5 months supply in Dallas County, that's down a full month from last week. New listings in Dallas, 656 with 417 sold. So once again, that's numbers off, and you can see last week we had 656 sold versus 588 coming on the market. So a shift there. And in our rural county north of us here in Collin County, Grayson County, going to pay just over list price, right at list price pretty much. Days on market, 11. Our rural counties always have a little higher days on market and usually have a little more supply, because there's probably more land and things of that nature for sale, lots and things of that. So 2.6 month supply. New listings in Grayson County was 64 with 59 sold, pretty much mark to mark, and then 55 last week versus 60. Number 2, Tarrant County, 103.2%. So you're paying just over 3% sales price to list price here. Days on market, very similar to our Collin and Denton and Dallas counties. They're at 6, 1.5 months supply. New listings in Tarrant County was 651 this week versus 478 being sold. And you can see those numbers, the solds close to the same, those coming on the market down a tad. Parker County, rural county west of Fort Worth, 101.6%, so nearly 2% over list. Once again, it's rural, so days on market is going to be a little more, probably to do with how long it takes to vet out land and different things of that nature is going to add to that. And once again, we've got a little more supply in the rural county, 2.6 months supply. New listings 116 versus only having 60 sold. The listings pretty close to the same as last week, sold down just a tad. And then jumping over to Rockwall, east of Dallas County, you're looking to pay about 2% over list price. Days on market is 9, 2.3 months supply. And new listings there was 70 versus 32 being sold. So that's almost double market being different versus last week you had 82 and 51. You got anything to add to any of these stats, Chris?
No, I'm going to get into the, one of the things to keep in mind is we're still seeing the updated properties, right? I mean, again, these averages, these are averages. So that means, for Tarrant County, something sold for, 107 or, 7-8% over list. And then ultimately, I would imagine distressed properties or, properties that aren't up to date sold at list or under list. So that's, these are great, but obviously to put it into context, like there still are homes and properties that will go over what the average is, or that have gone over the average because that's how they come up with the average, right? So that's the biggest thing. If it's a super hot, recently updated, has a pool right now. I mean, everything with a pool is probably going over. Rates in general are better than they were 2 weeks ago, right? But slightly higher than they were last week, which is just one of those things that we talk about that happens from day to day and week to week. So from a traditional, if you're looking at a conventional loan, right, conforming balance, which is in most of DFW, that's a loan of 642 and below, right, is a conforming conventional loan. You're going to be in the probably 5.75 to 6% range. Is where we're seeing most of those offerings. FHA has always been, a little bit lower than conventional, and because the market has slowed down, we're now seeing, more FHA offers get accepted, more VA offers get accepted, which is great, because those are when the market's, boiling hot like it's been. Those are the last ones those offers get accepted last, right? They're for whatever reason, there's just a negative connotation with them, and it's more difficult to get those accepted. But now that things have cooled down a little bit, those offers are getting accepted, which is great. So FHA rates we're seeing in the low 5s, so probably 5.25, 5.6, something like that. And then one of the things that we've been talking about a little bit more and more is the conventional ARM products. So you can get a lower fixed rate, but it is over a shorter period of time. Now, this isn't the pay option ARMs that were in existence back in the 06, 07, 08 days, right? These are you still have a principal and interest payment just like you normally would on any other loan. The difference is you have a lower fixed rate for a specific period of time. So on a like on a 5-year ARM today, you can get something in the neighborhood of like 5%. So you'd have 5% fixed over the next 5 years. And then that interest rate could then only adjust once after that initial 5-year period. So you're not going to have multiple increases in a year, right? So if it changes once in that year, that's where it's going to be for that following year. And then it can go. There's caps and maximums that it can go. But ideally, where we're having conversations on these is, okay, you're taking a 5% rate over the next 5 years. The likelihood of rates coming down in the next 1 to 2 years at this point is very likely, right? Where we're going here in our next conversation is we are either in a recession or headed into a recession. And typically, historically, mortgage rates then come down after, a recession.
Yeah.
So you take a 5% rate on a 5-year ARM today. And then again, in the next year or two, we're going to refinance you out of that into a fixed rate option. So again, just some options, right? At the end of the day, we want to just make sure that our customers are educated. They know what they're looking for, or what's out there and available. So that's where we're at on that. As of, we can actually we'll go to the charts. Yeah, this morning stocks and mortgage bonds were sharply lower, right? We had the hot inflation numbers that came out, and the producer price index, the PPI, which measures like wholesale inflation, rose 1.1% in June, which expectations for June were about 0.8, right? So it kind of blew past that 0.8 expectation, and it rose 1.1%. And then year over year, PPI rose from 10.9 this time last year to now it's sitting at 11.3. So if we're looking at that July date, and of course July 18th, which hasn't happened yet, but this is the most recent activity that we're looking at. It's essentially back on the 12th, 11th and 12th was when we're giving direction to lock in rates as mortgage-backed securities dropped yesterday, and then again today we're down at this point. So again, it's super important when you're working with a lender or loan officer that they know obviously what the market's doing, how things are moving and shaking, and giving you the best opportunity to lock in the lowest rate options available. So
Definitely.
next slide. Yeah, no, so this came out earlier this week, but man, we can clearly see when I saw it come out, I was just like, holy cow. We're looking at, obviously the big headline is year over year consumer price index, which is essentially the cost of goods, right? Milk, gas, energy, food. I mean, those are all those things that are factored in there. And we went from this time last year was 8.6, and we are now up to 9.1. So rents we saw go up in the month of June, 5.8%. Energy, right? What it costs to heat and cool your home is up 42%. And we all know at the pumps, right? We can all feel it at the pumps. Gasoline prices are up 60%. Food's up 10.4%. And crazy enough, if you have a vehicle sitting around, you can probably get a pretty penny for it, as used cars year over year was up 7.1%. So just again, this is when we talk about inflation, this is what we're referring to. I mean, it's essentially just the cost of everything that has gone up month over month, and then again, we can clearly see even year over year, just the cost of everything is going up. So based on these numbers earlier this week, based on the PPI numbers this morning, the Fed was already talking about in a couple of weeks when they go to discuss and talking about bumping the federal funds rate, that they would be going up 50 to maybe 75 basis points. Now, it seems like based on these numbers, I mean, 100 basis points isn't off the table, right? So that, well, again, what we've talked about before, that means your credit cards are going up, student loans, car loans, again, all of those shorter term financing options out there, the rates on those are going to be going up. And from a car loan perspective, if you bought a car a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, that interest rate's fixed, right? So you're not worrying about those. But again, your credit card rates are not fixed, right? Those are variable, so those can go up. And again, anything that is not an actual fixed term with a fixed rate and a fixed payment, those are the ones that you're going to see go up. So again, as things start to, as we're still seeing the cost of everything going up, again, we encourage, we can, obviously everyone that tunes in and watches, get those credit cards paid down. Just make sure anything that's on a variable type rate, you try to get that paid down, and then again, not use it, because that is what's going to cost you the most. If these credit cards get up to 18%, and you're already paying less than interest, right? When you make a credit card payment, so you're not even paying an interest payment, you're paying a little lower than interest. So you have just this compounding effect that you're never going to get out from. So first things first, get those, quit going to Starbucks, quit doing whatever crazy expenditures that you have, get those credit cards paid off so that you're in a much better financial situation.
Cool. Just to tag on the back of that, the energy 42%. I have a feeling as we get into winter that that number is going to drastically change. I've heard stories the last couple of days about, how much heating homes and things of that nature is going to cost this winter. So we're barely feeling the energy part of this, I believe, right now. So
Yeah.
Second quarter highlights, second quarter report came out this week. I just wanted to touch on the highlights real quick. This is the DFW MLS reporting zones. There's 43 of them around the Metroplex, stretching all the way out west of Fort Worth and out to Greenville and north up to the state line and down south through Ellis County and farther, I believe. So anyway, 43 reporting zones. This is DFW information. So total sales were down in 34 of those 43 separate MLS reporting zones. We're hearing all the time how the market is leveling out, slowing down. Some people crash, some people call it bubbles. But I believe this information is going to make all of that make sense. So why has total sales been down in our MLS? Most likely it's the higher mortgage rates, obviously, overall higher prices in the DFW area. All of these have affected affordability. Thus, it's going to push and squeeze some people out of the market. So naturally, some sales are going to drop. Also, just the broader economic picture. Chris and I have been talking about it for weeks. The economy is slowing, supply chain issues, the high interest rates, all of that's affected consumer confidence. Thus, not as many people are in the market. Thus, you're probably not going to have as many total sales. And remember, we're talking about total sales here in the second quarter. So all of these things have contributed to many consumers just taking a cautious approach toward buying. So total sales are down. Let's move on to the decline in sales, though. I want you to understand, don't totally, excuse you, the decline in sales cannot be totally seen as a decline in market. Where there's affordable housing, sales are actually up, or if they did decline, it was just a very slight decline. So that takes us back up to our first point with affordability. So where there's affordability, sales are actually up. Also, this really stuck out to me. The total dollar volume sold is up in 27 of these 43 zones. So including a few of the areas where sales were actually down in the zone, the total sales dollar volume was up. So that is obviously a product of home appreciation, the competitiveness of the market in the first and second, or during the second quarter. And then I put this in blue because I think the most significant trend is that the median sales price was up everywhere in all 43 of these zones. The median, which is not the average, but it is pretty close to the average sales price, was up everywhere. And in some cases, very significantly. In our Collin County area, at Anna, Allen, and Melissa, the 75 corridor is up 40% values. And most of our other areas saw a median sales price go up by 20%. So that is a sign of significant demand still in our area. Then the last bullet point is, for the year, sales are only down 4% in these 43 MLS reporting zones. So when you consider that we've seen, 15 to 20% appreciation, the fact that we're seeing, sales down 4% is, I think just a small little tick. The staggering first quarter, is going to help offset this slight downturn in the second quarter. If you remember our first quarter, we just blew up. the market. Interest rates were still, the first quarter, they're still in the
Threes.
Yeah. They were still in the threes. So we had a flurry of buying in the first quarter. That helps offset a little bit of the downturn in the second. But what's going to really tell the story is this quarter coming up. The third quarter is most likely going to tell the story of how 2022 finishes. Although we're feeling economic conditions that we've never encountered before, in DFW anyway, 2022 is going to remain a busy time in real estate. If you're a realtor, you should still be very, very busy. And that's why it's important, to partner up with the right lending team, such as Chris, line up with the right real estate team, Amy and I, and, we can help you navigate this process. I feel very good about what we've been able to do for our buyers, in this first and second quarter. We're working with Chris, working with you, the way you've been able to get them locked in at the right time. So, even people that are waiting to close right now are in a good position mortgage rate wise. And the last thing I wanted to show was just a little bit, we're talking about, the third quarter is going to tell the story of 2022. Realtor.com earlier in the year had forecast that inventory was going to tick up, 0.3%, not even a full percentage point. And they've gone back and updated their 2022 inventory forecast. And they now say that it's going to, go up by 15%. So for me, it's going to be interesting as this new inventory comes on the market. Is our home appreciation going to continue the rate it's been at? Chris and I were talking earlier, still getting a prediction of 20% home appreciation for 2022 in our DFW marketplace anyway. So, and then we've been talking for weeks how, and we've shown data and reports that, we should continue to see at least, 5 to 7% appreciation. We've shown you charts that during recessions, homes still appreciate. So the story here is if you are in the market to buy and have the ability to buy, now is still a great time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, one of the things that I think we left it out on the slides, but this week CoreLogic came out with their numbers of delinquencies. Foreclosures, of course, they're staying the course, is what the headline said, and the housing market is still solid, right? So I hear it all the time. I'm waiting for the bubble to burst. I'm waiting for prices to come down, and that happens. Home price. The only way that home prices come down or fall is when there's too much supply, right? And even though inventory is going to be up, there's still not going to be that much more supply than there has been, right? And we know the only other way for that to happen is foreclosures. Builders, obviously, they can contribute to the inventory shortage that we have. But again, I think the number that came out this week for delinquencies was, I think it was up like 0.1% year over year, 2.8 last year, 2.9 this year, of all loans, right, that have reported. They're only reporting 30 days late, and then I think even like 90 days they're only up like 0.3% from last year. So again, this influx of foreclosures and all the stuff that people keep talking about, it's not happening, right?
Not gonna happen.
Yeah, when you're in a 2% mortgage or a 3% mortgage and a ton of equity, right? That over the last however many years we've talked about 46%, I think since 2019, 46% increase in property values. You're not gonna give that up, right? In a foreclosure. So yeah, I think those two big components of foreclosures aren't happening at the rate that people were hoping for or expecting, right? To be able to snatch a property at a deal, that's just not going to happen. And builders have already come out and said, hey, we're not building. We're pulling back on production because we're not going to have an oversupply issue, right? They don't want to have that on their books. So get in while it's good, which is now, right? Interest rates are a little bit lower than they've been. We saw them, 3 weeks ago get up to 6.5%, right? And
Yeah.
we're hovering in the high fives right now. So, 5.7 to 6. So if what's that little saying? Opportunity's knocking. it's right now.
Opportunity. Yeah, it's getting. All right. Well, finished off another one. We're coming up. I'm gonna have to go back and find out what our anniversary date is, so we make sure we do a anniversary.